actually demonstrated the customs and beliefs of the Roman times, how, like, as we all agree, it could have had more description, but it is limited with a timeline. And Kate, like, I like what you wrote here. It's well research praised that is engaging and explains the key figure. Do you want to add more to your comment?
It's kind of just outlining what you guys have said. It looks awesome, really, really visually appealing, and you can see that they've really kind of gotten involved in the unit of work. But what would have been awesome to see was this student go into detail, because it's quite obvious that they're very capable of doing so, kind of by the integrity that they've had doing this work. So yeah, I think, but that's classic of Year 7 students, isn't it? They just get so into the work that they're doing that they actually forget to put in the information that they need to. So that's the feedback I would give to this student. I'd be like, let's, remember to go back to the assignment, go back to what it's asking us to do.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's have a look at the rubric for that. So we can definitely say it is above standard. So the main issue is, sorry, I'm just going to move the screen. We can definitely say it's a 2 because, like, though they did it in a creative way with the timeline, it has limited to actually able to paraphrase. So are we all okay for 2 for research information?
Yeah.
All right, so with historical figure and interpretations, I actually gave them a 1.5, but looking at what they've interpreted, I'm kind of leaning towards more of a 2. How you both feel at the moment? Are you still going with the original answer or the original mark, or do you want to change it to higher or lower?
I think it depends on how we feel in terms of the fact that they haven't specifically analyzed anything. However, that wasn't necessarily asked of them within, the information that they had. So we can either overlook the fact that they haven't analyzed and give them that 2 points, or we can kind of turn around and say you haven't extended yourself further past the basics. So we've just given you the 1.5.
I think that would probably be beneficial, because I think in the rest of this assessment, this student will probably get a few 2s.
Yeah.
So if we just give them a 2 for this, it's going to be really hard for them to also reflect and be like, I don't need to keep working on my work. I don't need to add more information in the future. So I think a 1.5 would probably be better.
Yeah, and only that, like, because even though they did it in quite a good way with the timeline, they still limited themselves to explain and describe even further. So with going on that with his significance, I also kind of leant towards 1.5 because they can't really explain or analyze that effectively with the timeline. But they have demonstrated a lot of achievement of their historical figure through the imagery and timeline. So
I will say though, they did include some links to modern society. I know it's very trivial, but
true.
like the inclusion of how it's affected, characterization in terms of, modern books and movies and all that. They have actually included a little bit going towards modern society, which is not something we've seen in any of our other students' work so far. So
yeah, that's true.
So are we leaning towards more of a 2?
I think personally I'm leaning towards a 2. I'm happy if you guys
I'm happy to lean for a 2. I'm liking 2.
Yeah.
2 it is.
Where else?
I'll fix it up. Yeah. So historical context of ancient Rome. I reckon they actually did a really good job with the limitations that set themselves, like, because they shown a lot of imagery and they illustrated their beliefs through the timeline of just by Cleopatra's actions alone. So as we reflect back quickly, let's go back. Like right here, I'm just going to move the screen a little bit so the viewer can see the timeline a bit more easier. Okay. So, like, even here, birth and religion, born in Alexandria, Egypt, mentioned about the family, the religion, how they're focused on fertility and rebirth and resurrection. Due to blood ties, um, they pushed her for marriage to marry her younger brother. So it's already giving a bit more of like a visual imagery for the reader, um, of the kind of beliefs and customs that they had at the time. Even just the way they mentioned he seduced Julius Caesar. So it's giving quite a sense of what customs they believed in, how did she achieve what she achieved with the limitations of the area, especially as a woman. Um, and
I would say
even
it's more of a described though than an
yeah,
explained. There's nothing
Yeah,
really explicit about it. It's more
it's
implicit.
it's
Um,
not much
and
that higher order thinking stuff.
mm.
yeah,
So when we
it,
go
it
back
they've definitely included more than some students, but
Yeah,
it's probably less explained and more
mm,
described in terms of the rubric.
yeah, so I actually went 1.5 this one. So it's safe to say that is we all agree it's 1.5.
Yeah.
Alrighty. There we go. And what we've mostly been complimenting and our colleagues have been complimenting on the design and images, we were like, damn, that is nice.
Yeah.
I actually went more of a two, because like though it does include a title, it didn't really have much of a subtitle within the timeline. It just showed particular facts and minor sources, but there's no actual subheadings.
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do agree with that. I think I gave that 1 or 2 as well.
All good. All right, and design element with grammar and spelling. I didn't see any incorrect spelling, and the grammar seemed okay to me. How you both
Yeah.
feel with
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel
it's really well
it's
expressed.
2.5. Yeah,
that?
they do have
2.5.
definitely a vocabulary range higher than some students.
Okay, so I initially went 2, but I'm happy to go up to 2.5 because, yeah, vocabulary is important. So, okay,
Yep.
and we all mentioned with the readability, it was quite like visually appealing with the eye catching and the choices. Um, I actually gave this a 2, mostly because though it was easily engaging, the choices that reflected on the historical figure, even though the imagery was quite good, um, and quite readable, like it was just how everything was on a two-parter, so um, because it was a poster, not 2 slides, so that's where I kind of leaned, but maybe I've been a bit too harsh. How
Yeah,
what mark did
I
you
have a
feel?
feeling they intended for the bibliography to be like the back of the poster,
Hmm.
just so they
Ah,
allowed themselves as much space on the front as possible. I remember talking to her about this during class, and she was wondering where she was going to put it. And I said, well, you could use the back if you want. So I
yeah,
think that's what the intention was.
yeah.
No, so
However, the choices have not reflected the historical figure per se, I suspect. She probably, like, if we really want to be nitpicky with the work, um, blue isn't necessarily a color you associate with ancient Rome. So
hmm.
it depends on how picky we want to
I
be.
think is that a bit of a like stretch because they're in year 7.
Oh yeah, for sure. I was just going based on the rubric we have
True,
specified that
true.
we want the choices to reflect the time period.
This is
But I
true.
think at a year 7 level, she's done a really good job.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Also,
sweet.
it also comes down to individual perspective. Like, I think she was just trying to interpret the blue, like with the Nile River, since like that was a massive location of Egypt and was significant. Like, but again, it comes down to individual perspective. But I'm happy to move up the mark to 2.5 because like even thinking of that, like um, she did use appropriate font style size. Colors to me that comes down to individual perspective, but she did a great reflection of the time period by using the imagery and also
Yeah,
like the specifics of the visual representation of the timeline.
yeah, no, I do agree with that.
No,
Roger,
so
Roger.
And bibliography, I gave it 2.5 out of 2.5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All 4 are 5. 5. We have 5 even.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so let's count these marks. So we got 2, 3.5, 5.5, 7, 9, 11.5, 14, 16.5.
That's my mark. Yes. Woo!
It's a bit higher than initially gave us, so that's definitely
Yeah.
something to consider. I'll see how the others are doing after their professional development today.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great work. Great moderating team.
No worries. And that was 16.5. Or
16.5.
Thank you.
All right.
No
Thanks,
worries.
guys.
No worries.
See you.
Thanks, everybody. And let's give me one.